Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today? I am in day 9 of quarantine. Some of some of you have probably been in quarantine a little earlier. My job got out a little less time. Got out a little later, but I'm in quarantine right now, so thing is, I don't really know what to do. I've jogged. I'm working out a little bit more now since I have more time on my hands. I'm reading a little bit more. Like, I have a few books. I already read this book. Um, I went to the used bookstore at in the library a few months ago, way before I knew about this quarantine, and I got some books. So I have a few books here that I haven't started reading yet. These books are the books that I've already finished reading from. These are really good books. These are historical fiction books. I recommend them. I already made a review about them. Um, I bought some Shakespeare books that I never read before. Troilus and Cressida. I know these ones people don't really talk about. Titus Andronicus. I heard that, like, I believe that's one of his first. But some people can debate about it. If you've seen my channel, my video on Shakespeare, um people have debated, like, if this was actual Shakespeare's first book, or his um or someone who using his pseudonym Shakespeare book. So you don't know, but if you haven't seen my review on that Shakespeare book that I read, I truly recommend it, and you get that book if you want to learn more about Shakespeare. Octavian Nothing. This, I guess, it's a historical fiction book, but I haven't read it. Look at. I got my raspberry. It was in my bag. I had raspberries and blueberries in my bag, and it burst open, and so I got the juice all over it. This is, I guess, it's historical fiction, and it's in Boston, but I've been reading it, and it's really not good. I want to keep reading it to see if it gets better, but I don't know. I really don't know. It's about this black guy and his mom, and they were they weren't, and these Europeans are scientists who are trying to see if Africans are actually less or inferior to Europeans. So, but this is all from the synopsis too. Like, but he but in, like, towards, like, he gets I don't know. He starts thinking, this is during the American Revolution too, so he starts having those ideas too, I guess. I don't really know. Um yeah, and it doesn't really mention in the beginning, it doesn't even mention that he's black either. And, like, towards the little towards in I've only read, like, I don't know, a few chapters, and it doesn't mention in the beginning that he's black either. It finally, a few, like, 2 pages, it's written more as a journal entry than chapters, but like, 2 journal entries in, he mentions that his mom is an African princess. So you put the two together, and it's just like, oh, I guess he's black then. And and his father was killed in Africa, so he's all black. But it's just, but it's really boring. And also it doesn't say that he's in Boston either. It says he's in the Common. Like the biggest thing that signifies that he's from Boston is from he's near the Common. And and if you anyone who doesn't live in Massachusetts or never been to Massachusetts and never heard of the Common, anyone who's if you've been to Massachusetts before, or then you would know, or you live in Massachusetts, then everyone knows what the Common is. Or like if you live around Boston, everyone knows, what the Common is. But I mean, and also since I read the synopsis too, I know that he's in Boston because they never mentioned that he was in Boston. They only mentioned the Common. So people who are not living in Boston, or not in Massachusetts, or don't know anything about Massachusetts, would not know what the Common is, and they would be like, why is he talking about the Common? A common is an adjective. It's not a noun. So, or like you could be thinking, oh, this guy is making stuff up in the. So it's just like, and there's another book to this. So I'm just like, I want to know. It's just, unless this boy turned out to be Crispus Attucks, because he was the first person to die in. He was black, and he was the first person to die in Boston Massacre. If unless he turns out to become Crispus Attucks, I don't think I'm gonna read this anymore. Like I tell myself, like, you know what, it might get better, and then I keep reading it, and it's just like, this book is not that entertaining. And obviously, when you have a book, and you look at when someone publishes a book, they only have the good reviews on the back of the book. Or yeah, the novel questions move into today's urgent arguments about what patriotism, freedom, and citizenship means. The story digs deep under one's skin. That sounds great to me. Though, if you know me, I'm someone who loves stuff like that, like the philosophy, and reading about philosophy, and like deeper understanding. I love stuff like that. But again, it's just really, really boring. And I can't seem to finish it. I really want to. I keep telling myself, you know what? It's going to get better. But it's not for me. It's not. I really want to keep reading this. Maybe I'll read this again in the future, but because I don't feel like getting rid of it just yet. But I don't. I'm I'm not bending over backwards to read this. I'm not. And I have Henry the Fourth, Part 1. I would like to read that. I have The Calligrapher's Daughter. It's a Korean. It's based in Korea, but it's not in Korean, because I mean, I'm trying to learn as many languages as I can, but I'm not that good at languages yet. So actually, I don't even know any Korean. Actually, I only know a little Korean from watching K-dramas, but that's it. But it's about obviously the calligrapher's daughter. She's in Korea. I have in Woman in the Middle Ages, the music instinct, how music works and why we can't do without it. That really stood out to me, because I've never thought of it that way before, and it makes sense. And it makes sense how music plays a huge part in our lives, because music can make you feel stuff like you can get goosebumps from listening to music. That's something big. And music therapy. That's crazy too. That it helps a lot of people with dementia and Alzheimer's too, so that's really awesome. Measure for Measure. This is another book, but I've never heard this book before. So from Shakespeare. So this looks really cool. And I also have Henry V. So yeah, that's good. The thing is, I've read Richard III. That's the only War of the Roses book I've read by Shakespeare. And I love Richard III because just he's a really good main character, and I just love him so much. And Richard III humanizes bad people. That was the first back then. That was the first example of like villains being humanized, and I just loved it. What other books? I have other books too, but like these books, Beijing. That my mom got me that because I was gonna go to China, but I just didn't because I was gonna go to China for work, but I was just like, you know what? At the last second, I was just like, I don't want to go to China anymore because that's a lot of work. Cymbeline, I read Cymbeline with my there's a thing at my library, a kind of book club thing, and they chose Cymbeline, and I actually like this book. I think Cymbeline, it's almost has. I think Cymbeline's a flat character arc book, cause he's almost in no scenes, but I think just everything happens around him that unfolds because of his decision. So yeah, that's why. And then Hamlet. I tried to read Hamlet. I read this book and I was kind of confused. I mean, obviously, if I never read The Lion King, I would never know that this is based on Hamlet, and that's the only reason why I know that Hamlet is about what it is. So, I'm not gonna tell you because you just watched Lion King. If or you can watch the movie. I recommend the one with Sir Laurence Olivier as Hamlet. Seven Women and the Secret of Greatness. I've never read that book. I got that when I was going to. My friend gave me this right before I went to Austria, and yeah, I still didn't read it when I was in Austria. It just didn't. I don't know why. It just didn't look boring to me, but maybe the cover. Maybe that's why. Because I love books like that. I also have The Tempest. I didn't read. No. I actually did read this book, The Tempest. It's it. I understand it. I understand it, but it wasn't that great to me. The thing that, because I always thought it was hard reading Shakespeare, but when I started my book club, when I started going to the book club at my local library, I realized that Shakespeare was really good, because I realized that a lot of people who also had the same problem with Shakespeare. I mean, Shakespeare is very good, but you have to start reading. You have to start reading the books with different voices in your head, because it's not in plain English, it's in Victorian English, so everything is symbolism within, and you're taking like 50 words to say one idea. And so you have to have a different voice in your head while you're being everyone else, because while you're reading the book by yourself. And so it's a lot easier when you do it with multiple people in the room. I haven't read this book in my book club yet. I only read Richard III in my book club yet, and Cymbeline. But we're reading it we're reading it this year. Hopefully the library will be open for us to have the book club. It's in July, but I mean, I've heard that like this quarantine could be terrible. It could be like really up until August or something. So it's just like, we don't know. And the president wants to open the country on Easter. It's like, get out of here, man. It's only March and Easter is like a week and a half away. Get out of here. So yeah. And these books, I need to put them away now, because if I don't put them away, I'm not going to put them away at all. And these books are the Bible. My mom gave me a New Age Bible. She gives me George Stanley stuff. I don't know why she's done. I got the Quran. I also have the Quran. I got this at UMass when I was in school at UMass Boston. There was a Muslim club, and they wanted to spread awareness of Islam, and like they weren't trying to convert anyone, but obviously, because America has, at least right now, had a bad history of accepting Muslims. So they wanted to spread awareness. So they were like, oh, and they also gave me these pamphlets. So basically they were saying like, we're not radical like other people, because I know my mom used to be Muslim back, like around back then, like with Malcolm X and everyone, and like starting the Nation of Islam. She was a Muslim back then, and like in the 1960s, and so people were just like, and so she told me some stuff. She has her own version of the Quran from when she was a Muslim, and she told me like, yeah, we believe in Jesus Christ. We just don't believe he was the Messiah, and yeah. The radical Muslim that you see blowing up buildings and stuff, that goes against everything that the Quran stands for. So it's just, and also I never believed that even before the Quran, before I knew about the Quran in Islam, it's just like, why would a religion praise you for blowing up and killing people? It doesn't make any sense. And also, this is a Bible that my friend who gave me the 7 Woman book, she gave me a Bible. She's kind of religious. She gave me a Bible right before I went to Austria as well. And now, looking at all my bras and stuff. Here is